is a heavy and vulnerable conversation to have. This platform is a safe place for all individuals to come share their life's journeys of surviving grief without judgment.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the QT Surviving Grief podcast. My name is Tiffany Ware, and I'm the podcast host. And today I have a special guest on. I met this gentleman about let's see, 19, probably about 18 years ago, I'm gonna say. And I met this gentleman through Quentin, my significant other. And he has been such a joy and just brought so much joy, laughter, and just also a lot of inspiration into my life from the day I met him on up until this very moment. So I would like to introduce to some and present to others Minister Bennie, I'll call him BJ Caston the
Yeah,
second.
I know, right?
Welcome, BJ. How are
Thank
you
you. I'm
today?
doing well. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. I really
Yes,
do.
yes,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you for being on. You had such a one of Quinn's bestest of friends from
Oh
back in the
yeah.
day.
Oh yeah.
So funny. Miss Nora was like, they had me pick them up in at church in
Yeah.
Williamsport one night,
I know
and
she
I
told
was.
me that. She said she was so mad at us.
That's what she said. I said, yeah, that was Quinn for sure. And
Yep.
he's like, you gonna take him back to his mama's house and all that. So it's just so funny. Y'all have a lot of memories. So
Yes.
VJ, I want you to just introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are and just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So my name is Bennie Caston. Close family and some close friends know me as BJ. Um, I'm married. We just celebrated our first year anniversary. Courtney Caston, just blessed. I mean, I'm just an individual that just has a heart for people. I enjoy people. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy connecting with people. That's just something that like I'm really enjoy doing. So that's who I am. I'm just a lovable, honest, upfront person. Just love spending time with people, getting to know people genuinely, like knowing them and just that's a little bit about myself. I work at a hotel where I'm assistant general manager right now, and then of course I do ministry things. Um, I'm on the side as well too.
Awesome. Thank you, BJ. Well, I guess we're gonna hop into it. I always do a quick little question.
Yeah.
So I guess this time around, I want to ask you, what is your favorite holiday? So we're right here in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I want to know which one is your favorite and why.
Wow. Christmas. I don't know why Christmas, but Christmas always been a joy time for me. Like
Mm,
anytime we get to put up the tree, we used to always ask my dad, beg my dad, all like after Thanksgiving, can we put up a tree? Can we put up a tree? Can we put up the lights? Can we put up the lights? And he'd be like, I'm putting them up next week. When then we ask him again. I just enjoy that time. Like I don't know, just time of just joyous time. I feel like that is a good time to kind of spend time with the people that you love, and really that brings out greatest of memories. That's where you remember most of your memories from. It's during that
yeah,
time of Christmas time. Is when you're spending that time and then just join each other and family. So I believe
yeah.
Christmas is like my favorite time of the year.
Gotcha. It's mine's too, BJ. I remember me and Quinn used to argue. Why you want to put a tree up? I'm like, Quentin, it's just for the festivities.
I know, right?
He was
I
you
love
you
putting trees
know
up.
you know he was not no Christmas person.
No, oh yeah, he wasn't. But I love putting trees up. Like I got a tree up right now. I got
Yeah,
it right up. Before
yeah,
Thanksgiving, I did.
right, right. I think that's the thing now, BJ. I think a lot of people. I work with this lady, and she after Halloween, she's already putting Christmas up.
No, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like a big thing now. It's funny and interesting, but
Exactly.
cool. Well, me and you definitely have that in common because, like I
No,
say,
yeah.
I like Christmas. I like the lights, just everything.
Oh
Just
yeah.
kind of having downtime time, the end of the year, a good time for reflection of how this year went, and then also a time to start planning for next year.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree with you for sure,
Yeah,
for
Christmas.
sure. Well, okay, we're gonna get into our some of our discussion today, BJ.
All
And
right.
as you know, of course, this is QT Surviving Grief, so we talk about grief and share our stories. So I
Yes.
just want to start with what's your the first time you can remember experiencing grief or loss?
Mm, I want to say it was my grandmother, Big Mama. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was like a very like caring person. She
Hmm.
loved people. She wasn't like a harsh person. So, to all of our family members, like she treated everyone the same, no matter what. So even if you weren't, doing the best, she still like just loved on you. And
Hmm.
that's was one of my grieving times, when she wasn't there, especially, the time when I got married, she wasn't there, and that was a void, to us just because, she knew I was going to get married,
Hmm.
and she knew that the person I was going to marry too, so that was, she just knew things, because she had a good connection with God, and she always encouraged me no matter what. Like I would tell people, I told people at the funeral, I was like, I could sing and I wasn't the best singer, but I felt like the best singer because she was always encouraging me. And she was always like, sing, BJ, sing, BJ. And I miss that because she always encouraged me to, to do what God has called me to do, even when others may not, agree with it or not, but she always told me to do your best and to the Lord, and I enjoyed that time, that we had, with her while she was here. But I think that was like my first, really hit where it hit me. I take grief differently. I'm not always, sometimes I'll, cry, but
Yeah.
sometimes I'll sit and meditate and just kind of like, remember those times of where I shared with her.
Yeah, yeah. So remembering those memories, and I was fortunate enough to know Big Mama as well. Got to meet her through church,
Yeah.
and like you said, she was definitely that nurturer. No matter who you were,
Yeah.
treated you like one of her grandchildren
Yeah.
almost. And so yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of the first memories you had.
Yeah.
Were there any other grief stories you would like to share
So
that have occurred in your life?
yeah, so I mean, it seemed like then from there it just spiraled. So it was, Big Mom. It was my friend Chad. He was one of my good friends.
Okay.
He had died in his sleep,
Okay.
unfortunately. He was, he was younger,
Mm-hmm.
um, but he had a heart, and like he was like genuinely just, there for me,
Mm-hmm.
during, the good times and the bad times. But he was a good friend of mine that I had lost. And then, it was my sister, Olivia. We lost Olivia, unexpectedly. And that
Yeah.
was just like, wow. It's like, what, you just ask questions like, how, why, what happened? And then, when we lost Quentin, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, why? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So you think about those things and your mind just start racing. You start thinking about, those times, oh man, I should have been there a little bit more. I should have said a little bit more. I should have taken a little bit more time out to make an effort to even spend more time with that person. So you're thinking about all these things in your head when these things happen, and you're just like, oh my gosh, and then you think about the memories and you're like, oh my gosh, they're not
Yeah.
going to be here. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be here to celebrate and enjoy those times with you. So, during that, grief has taught me a lot to appreciate people,
Yes.
especially the ones that are very true to you. That's
Mm-hmm.
what grief has taught me, is like to appreciate people that is there for you. Because, like, you said before, you said you can make a lot of friends and people are not always have the good intent for you. People are
That's right.
always they're going to be um, um, seem like they're with you, but in
Mm-hmm.
reality they're not really with you at all.
That's
They're
right.
just trying to see what you can do or they can get from you and how they can take right from you as soon as you get there. But these people that I had in my life, they were like true friends and true people that really just had heart of gold, that really saw what I didn't see in myself. And those are the type of people that you want in your life. And when you lose those people, you're like, what else? What else do we do from here? Why can't I have that person here? You know, because then I can tell them all about what's going on, and they're just like, you'll be fine. You got this. Don't worry about them other people. And that's what grief has really made me just really appreciate the people that are really for me.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Sidebar question from that, BJ. You know, of the three people you just mentioned,
Yeah.
all of those were very sudden. And you
Yes.
mentioned, the first thought is why.
Yeah.
Um, how do you decipher that with, we always hear don't question God or don't question this or that. Like, how do you come to an understanding of, is it a, okay, I'll never understand why, but I know I have to accept this?
Yeah.
Or do you have any thoughts around that whole questioning God, I guess?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts around it? Because I've
Mm.
definitely done that, for
No,
sure.
it's it you will question God.
Hmm.
I question God plenty of times, not just with grief, but just with things that just happen in life. I'm like, God, I thought you were there.
Yes.
I thought you were for me. I I thought that you said you weren't going to leave me or nor forsake me. But I feel, empty right now. I feel like I can't do anything else. I feel just what's going on, and those are, I think God like honesty. I believe he really
Okay.
like us really open and honest with him, really pouring out our hearts to him and like really truly just showing ourselves to him. I think that God likes that about us. And that was kind of helps me to, even if I question God, God is not going to, be like, oh, you don't love me. He knows our hearts. He knows our intent of our hearts. So I think it's okay to ask God why, even if we don't understand sometimes. But even during that time of where we don't understand, I believe that, for me, I know for me, even if I don't understand, I still have that hope and trust in him, you know, because I went through the things that I went through. And I know that I got through those things, even though they may have been tough or they may been challenging. I look back and I see where I did push through, and I like that wasn't me at all. That had to be, God up on my side and pushing and, you know, helping me to get through it. So I think it's okay to question God and ask God why, you know, that many people in the Bible ask God, why, you know,
Yeah.
and God was honest with them.
Yeah.
He said, haven't I provided for you before? Wasn't I there with you before? Wasn't I there, through every trial that you went through? And that's, what then God asked us.
I like that, BJ. I like how you mentioned honesty. That God likes our honesty, and also that God knows our hearts.
Yeah.
Because on this road of what I've been dealing with, I've questioned a lot, and sometimes I'm just like, I start to feel like I don't want to ever be beaten up on God, but then it's just like, but I think it's just all the emotions you go through of losing somebody in such a tragic manner, and then
Yeah.
it's like you just spoke to me a little life into me for sure, because I have not been thinking of it in that manner, that
Yeah.
God does know our heart.
Yeah.
Even though our outward
Yeah.
think or say, we may be like, oh my gosh, why am I saying this to God, or why am I,
Yeah.
but yeah, that makes complete sense.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, so with that being said, BJ, of course, I know you've experienced sudden loss, which we've just talked about.
Yeah.
And then have you ever experienced like that loss where it's kind of like a progression? Like my grandmother was on dialysis.
Yeah.
So we knew at a certain point, she
Yeah.
was getting to that point where she was
Yeah.
just like, she told my dad, Tim, I'm just tired. Like I'm
Yeah.
just, do you feel that experiencing sudden loss versus that kind of where you see someone headed toward that direction,
Yeah.
has that been is there a difference in that? Do you feel like for you personally, experiencing
I
both?
believe it is. Sudden can be like, for me, I feel like sudden can be just like, that's where you just got question why, what happened, what,
Mm-hmm.
your mind's trying to process what happened, but you're like, no, so you have to go and see it to
Mm-hmm.
believe it almost. Um, as opposed to, death that, my big mom, she had, dementia. So she, we didn't know when,
Mm-hmm.
but we know she was
Mm-hmm.
still there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
me to see it as she was going slower and slower was just kind of like, man,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I want that person, back. And it's like I wouldn't say it's not like they're not there,
Mm-hmm.
but they're there, but they're just like, they're not how they were before,
Right.
so it then hurts also too to see that. So you try not to, I wouldn't say not try to be around as much, but
Mm-hmm.
it hurts you to see that,
Yeah. And
so you try to kind of like push yourself back a little bit, kind of like, okay, I
mm-hmm.
come around, here and there. So it's a process too.
Yeah.
But I think that we do take that differently, because then we know that they're in a better place and they're at rest and they don't have to go through
Mm-hmm.
that pain and suffering. So you're more at like, oh wow, I'm grateful that, she passed the way she did, rather than have to suffer pain and, other things.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a grief within itself. I have a family member that I'm dealing with very close, immediate, that is dealing with dementia, and you kind of grieve that person's. You knew how they were before, and then
Yeah.
you see this trend. So that's a sense of grief. It has been for
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
and my family. Like we know he'll never go back
Yeah.
to being really who he was prior to.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that's tough. That
Yeah.
what you just mentioned, that prolonged amount of time.
Yeah. It is for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Um, so of the grief you've experienced, BJ, how has it changed you?
Um, like I said before, it really helped me to really appreciate the people that's for me,
Mm-hmm.
the people that are with me truly, and not
Mm-hmm.
just say they're with me and then you see something else different. So, through those experiences or the things that we go through, I believe that we try to appreciate life a little
Mm-hmm.
bit much more,
Oh
and the
yeah.
time that we spend with the people we truly love, we try to hang on to that. So we're trying to, hang on to those times that we're having with them together, making sure that they're intentional,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that they
Mm-hmm.
they have a purpose and a reason, not just, sometimes, in life we just hang out people just to hang out people,
Right.
and not
Right.
having a purpose to it. But
Yeah.
now, me purposely having a purpose, so that way, you bring, I wouldn't say bring life to the situation, but you're adding something to them. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's the same as Jesus did. Jesus made everything that he did intentional. As he was down here on earth, he came down here, he had a purpose and he had a reasoning. So that's the same with us. We have a purpose.
Right.
God wants us to enjoy the things of life, but he wants us to be purposely, in people's life and adding value to them, and not
Mm-hmm.
taking from them, but adding to them also too. So that's what that has taught me a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's important. Adding value and that intention. Yeah, intent is real. It's
Yeah,
like purposeful. Because I
yeah,
think sometimes we get so in the hustle and bustle of life that
yeah,
you don't really think about the time you spend with people and
yeah,
really you know holding that close to your heart.
yeah,
And a lot of times it's not until that person's gone.
yeah,
Sometimes,
yeah,
that we are like, wow, it just went by so quickly.
yeah,
And so yeah, yeah, it's like that. And then when we think of gathering, I was thinking, we're in this holiday season, and so for many of us, much like your family, with Olivia, there's that empty seat at the table.
yeah,
How was that for you guys, BJ? I like Quinn always was at my family's for Christmas. Him and his mother, they've came since his granny died
yeah,
about 10 years ago. So they've always attended Christmas with my family. And that's going to be very difficult this
yeah.
year
Oh
because
yeah.
he's, life of the party. He
Oh
on YouTube,
yeah.
on Facebook, and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, how have y'all, or how did you rather navigate that empty seat at the table, and did y'all do like any type of memorial or new tradition or anything like that? I know a lot of people are just experiencing this right now, and so
Yeah.
just want to get some advice or some suggestions of how you guys
Yeah.
handled that because that was recent when
Yeah,
Olivia
it very
passed.
recent, yeah.
Very recent.
So we my mom is very important about we have Sunday dinners at her house.
Okay.
So she's always wanting us to spend that time together even more.
Yeah.
So we make it purposely to plan our day to be with family on Sundays, intentionally to be there on Sundays with them, for dinner. Even if we are going somewhere else, we try to make it to back there on Sundays to spend that time
Yeah.
because, my family believes family is important. And
Yes.
God
Oh yeah.
created family for a purpose. Even if you don't agree with everything, you
Right.
don't get along, it's always fun to come with family and just like laugh. And even though you have differences and
Mm-hmm.
living different lives, but you're coming together and you're just spending that time, it just really just like, I don't know, it makes me feel good to just be around, even with, even if there's empty seats in there, you still can, feel that person still in a sense of being there while you're, having that family time. So I
Yeah.
think that you pulling together with the family, it helps a whole lot because then you're relying on their strength and their laughter and everything to help during that process. So I believe that's what's important is bringing that family together. That's what's been for us. We always making sure that we have that family time, to spend, and laugh and joke and cut up, those are the great times to kind of spend with the family.
Yeah. And you mentioned something about people's spirits. I Quinn definitely believed that spirits lived on.
Yeah,
When someone passes away, their body is what is in the ground, but
yeah,
your spirit lives on.
yeah,
And so I think, I was always like, yeah, okay, but sometimes I definitely feel them with me different times, and it's always so odd,
yeah, yeah,
but you feel that presence,
yeah.
and I think that's a real thing.
Oh yeah,
And so I'm glad you mentioned that, and I think that can help probably bring comfort
oh yeah,
during those times when you're like, okay, yeah, this person should be here for, like you said, your wedding, for example,
yeah,
or a holiday,
yeah,
all those big moments in life.
yeah.
But that presence can mean the world,
Oh yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah,
Yes, it sure can.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I was gonna ask you this one question, but I think I'm gonna hop to this other one. Of course, with all the loss, we've all experienced. Change is hard.
Yeah,
It can be uncomfortable,
yeah,
and I really want to know, BJ, how have you maintained just your sense of well-being, when we think of like spiritual well-being,
Yeah.
even physical, like your health,
Yeah.
mentally,
Oh
because
yeah.
I know for me this has just been
Mm.
I have just never experienced nothing like this in my life.
Oh yeah.
How have you found the ways to manage your well-being pretty much in those moments of extreme bouts with grief when it's so heavy
Mm.
and it's affecting everything in your
Yeah.
being?
Yeah.
um just want to know how you've kind of maintained that.
I think it's all in, I was reading about in the Bible, about grief and things like that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading about, how Jesus grieved with the people because of
Mm-hmm.
Lazarus, how he grieved. He wept because he saw those people, you know, um, grieving, and saddened, about those things. Um, but what helps me the most is just finding comfort in God's presence. That's what helps me to maintain my peace and my to keep my mind.
Right.
Not saying that we still gonna have these feelings, because it's good. It's gonna be a journey that we go through. It's gonna be a process that we go through. Even with Big Mama's death, it was a process of going through. There'd be days where you're just like, man, man, I miss
Mm-hmm.
her.
Oh
Or
yeah.
man, I miss my friend. I I I can't call him on the phone and tell him what happened at church today. You
Right.
know, or tell him that I did my first sermon. And did he see it? You know, um, but then God reminds me, that He's with me every step of the way, and He's like, and it just brings great comfort to me knowing that even in the midst of grief, you can find comfort and peace in God. And His presence just surrounds you to where it's just there, just like hovering over you and just like giving you a peace of mind and giving you comfort in that time, to where you you can take it day by day, you know, because
Yeah.
it is a process. It is a journey. It's okay to have these feelings, because God gave them to us.
Oh
He
yeah.
gave us these feelings. He gave us we can be angry, but sin
Right.
not. You know, He told us,
Mm-hmm.
we can be saddened. He even told us to, grieve with those that grieve, laugh with those that laugh. We're supposed to do those things. It's part of life. It's part of who we are. And I think that, when we spend that quality time with God, that's what's going to help us to get through that.
Yeah.
And I can even see that, I was thinking the other day, I was telling someone about, you, and I was like, I can see, that she's spending time with God, because no one can ever, I don't know what you're going through. I can't
Mm-hmm.
say I know what you're going through because I'm not in your seat, but I can
Right.
see you're allowing God to guide you and comfort you during that time frame. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Lord, I'm like,
Yeah.
she is really doing this, and you are with her every step of the way. And
Yes.
that's just an encouragement for me to see you
Mm-hmm.
still push through in spite of. That's what
Right.
gives us courage, is seeing you on here
Mm-hmm.
pushing through no matter what. Even though you're hurting,
Oh
you're still
yeah.
giving out.
Oh yeah.
And that's ministry. That's something
Wow.
that, God really, really puts, that's a part of life. And
Yeah.
sometimes God, even God reminded me, He said, sometimes I have to step in, sometimes I have to do things,
Mm-hmm.
allow things to happen
Yeah.
in order to show you I'm with you,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
in times of where we don't understand, even in times of death, even times of sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
God is trying to show us who He is,
Yeah.
in Him.
Yeah.
And I believe that within the bottom of my heart that, we go through these things for a
Yeah.
purpose, for
Oh
a
yeah.
reason. And God
Mm-hmm.
told me, the other day, He said, I do it for your good, even though you may not understand why you're going through what you're going through or why
Mhm.
you had to suffer.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
doing it for your good. So I'm turning things around for you so
Mhm.
you will see it, and then
Yeah.
you will know why you had to go through what you went through, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, BJ. I receive that. Because I this yeah, we're suffering, and I'm glad that you mentioned how, you know, this is really becoming a ministry for people because I've had a lot of people reach out, and I know this podcast is it's nothing but God.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about how, God will carry us through certain moments. And it's kind of like that whole week of planning Quentin's funeral. I was so carried. I don't even remember blinking an eye. Like I was just so focused on making sure stuff was perfect for him in his final moments on
Yeah.
this earth and on this final week of getting him prepared for his next destination. And I know it wasn't nothing but God. And so,
Yeah.
like you said, this is definitely birthed out of a very difficult situation, even to this date.
Yeah.
So I receive those
Oh
words
yeah,
of
most definitely.
encouragement
Yeah.
for
Oh yeah.
sure.
And I wanted to tell you that because I was like, man, I said I
Yeah.
gotta tell her you're such a strong person, and that's so seeing this. Not saying that I didn't see this out of you, but you don't see people,
Mm-mm.
and then when you see them, you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you know this is a God thing, and God is working through you, and
Yeah.
He's working that process. It's still going to be a journey that you're
Yeah.
going on, but as you stick with Him, and as you
Mm-hmm.
rely on Him, He's going
Mm-hmm.
to just explode your mind, and you're going to be like, wow.
Yeah.
And that's what God has done with me during this, in this
Mm-hmm.
process, changing me. Like, that I've said before, He's trying to change us to be like Him. And in order
Yeah.
for us to be like Him, He has to push out and mold us and take us through things that's, like you said, uncomfortable, not
Oh yeah.
good, not feel good,
Right.
but to know that you can rely on God to get you through those things.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wow, I didn't know I can do that. I didn't know
Yep.
I had that
Yep.
energy. I didn't know I had that at all. But
That's right.
you're looking back and you're like, I didn't I didn't do that at all. And that's how God works, to let you know
Mm-hmm.
that it's not you. It's Him
Yeah.
working in you
That's
and
right.
Him leading you. And
That's
you have
right.
to rely on Him totally in order to overcome whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah, yeah, I received it. It's so true. You know, Quinn had all this figured out, BJ.
Yeah,
He was who he was, and
yeah,
I have never. That's just not even my personality. And
yeah,
so, for God to be using me as a tool in the way He is now, like it blows my mind. like
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, this was not me
yeah.
at all. I'm just in the background.
I know you
I'm
so quiet and everything.
yeah, I'm filming and I'm doing that. I don't so yeah, I mean this is ain't it's nothing but a God thing for
Oh
sure. And
yeah,
I know Quinn's looking down and I know he's like, oh, you really doing this thing.
I know,
I
right?
know
If you could see it, like, I mean, I can
he
see it right now. I'm like,
picking with me. Yeah.
I know that. See, I knew she had enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Eventually,
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So, so I want to shift gears to ministry, BJ. I know you had your initial sermon, which was absolutely wonderful, blessed my soul in so many ways that day. So I want to say congratulations just for that step of walking in, your purpose and what
yeah,
God already had instilled in you.
I know, right?
Yes. So I wanted two things I took from your sermon
Yeah,
was uh praise is your weapon
yeah,
and transform your mind.
yeah,
How has those concepts carried you through those difficult times? Because that message, I needed that. I
yeah,
need my mind transformed. I
yeah,
have to use praise as my weapon
yeah,
right now. I don't have a
yeah.
choice. So yeah, has those two concepts carried you?
Wow, it's carried me through a lot. You know,
Mhm.
when God told me that, I was in my bathroom and he told me, praise is going to be your weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow. And I didn't know how much praise can be such a weapon in whatever you're going through. I'm not saying that you have to be all happy all the time. You're not going to be happy all the time. Like I said, those are feelings that you're going to have. But
Mm-hmm.
through that, you're praising God, not just for the things he's doing, but just because he's God. And
Mm-hmm.
as you start doing that, God starts to restore things in you, that joy and that peace, even while you're going through that storm of life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's pushing me through is praise.
Mm-hmm.
Praise can change your perspective. Praise can change the atmosphere of what you're going through. Even though you're still going through it, it
Mm-hmm.
can change it to where you think differently. And that's why, it's, again, I said, you have to you got to like God to transform your mind, because you can't think, like I said, the way that you thought before,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't even know what we're going to do half the time. We switch our minds like this,
Mm-hmm.
1 minute we want this, next minute we want that, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but to allow God to transfer your mind, that's allowing him to guide you and lead you, start changing your perspective of how you see things, how you view things, rather than, taking it differently, in the common, or like the I can't think of the word, but like the worldly way, but
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking of
Mm-hmm.
the spiritual, you
Right.
know,
Right.
have that spiritual mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was talking about, is having that spiritual mindset. As God starts to transform your mind, you're going to start thinking things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So your mind's going to be a lot different. How you would handle things differently, how you would have been, 2 months ago. You can see that transforming. And that's what I see God doing, through us,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
transforming us, into what he wants, our journey. And we know our purpose. And when you know your purpose, nobody can tell you nothing different.
Yeah.
And that's how
Yeah.
I view those things. That's how things that carry me through.
Gotcha. Yeah. So bouncing off of that, BJ, so as a believer of Christ, one thing I did learn through Quentin, he understood the assignment of life. I'm gonna say that first and
Oh
foremost.
yeah,
He
we
was
did.
fully, hey, he knew his purpose.
Yeah,
He knew, we all we're not gonna be here forever.
yeah,
Quentin handled death in it was very different from how I handled it, because
yeah.
I don't do good at all.
Oh yeah,
And not to say that he was, you know he was not, of course he was sad,
yeah,
but I don't know if it was just his relationship with God that made
yeah.
him not go down that rabbit hole,
Oh
because
yeah.
I go down the rabbit hole currently.
Mm,
And I'm working to stop, kind of doing that. But just from your perspective, what is your perception or take on death? I'm just interested, because I know how his was. And
yeah,
I know you guys come from a similar
yeah,
religious, background.
yeah,
And I don't know, he just handled things different, and he looked at things differently. Sad, yes, but
yeah,
down in the dumps like me, no. Did he grieve? Yes, but
yeah.
not. It was like he still
Different. Yeah,
maintained a certain level of hope.
yeah,
And so yeah, I just want to know what your take is on that. I'm very interested
yeah.
to
I
know.
mean, it's similar to that. Like I said, I don't always show my emotions right then and there. And
Mm-hmm.
even during that time, those times of deaths that we had, I mean, it was just like one after another. I felt sad,
Mm-hmm.
but then I felt hope,
Mm-hmm.
because they went through their life.
Right.
It was the end time. Like, we all have time frames that we're on. We never know
Yeah.
when we're going to leave here. But having that understanding, like I can imagine, me losing, my wife or my mom or my dad, but
Right.
I know that someday that's coming to an end. And my
Yeah.
hope is built on nothing less than Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
So when you build that hope and trust in Christ, and you know your destination, and you know where you're going, and you know you live the best that you did, and you're living your best now, it's more like a peace to where you
Mhm.
don't, you know, not saying that you won't be sad like you said, or won't grieve. You will grieve, you will be sad, but you're
Mhm.
like, they made it.
Yeah.
They made it, you know. And that's why, I was able to praise God, even during that time, when Quentin was, gone. I knew he was gone,
Yeah.
but I still, in that midst, I was like, my friend lived his best life.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did what he did best, and that was love people, and he loved God with
Mhm.
all his heart. You couldn't
Yeah.
tell him nothing. You couldn't turn him any type of way of doubting God.
Right.
He was going to do that regardless.
That's right.
And and you again, you question God, like, God, why you take good people from us? But God needs those people.
Mhm.
We're not here forever, and He's allowing us to live out our purpose fully too, and step into our purpose, and step into what He has for us to do. And that's how your life is going to speak for you. Your
Yeah.
story of your life, it's going to
Mhm.
speak all for you,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I got this shirt on. It says "Your story matters,"
Oh,
and
wow, that's really cool.
yeah, it's crazy. You just said that. You see the bottom of
I
it.
know, I do see it.
Yeah, yeah. We all have a story, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so true. And yeah, I that hit home. Everything you just said, because like I say, I just feel like certain people do look at death, different, and it's like they made it,
yeah.
because that's the ultimate,
Oh, yeah,
goal,
yeah,
uh, yeah, when you, and like you said, when you know who you are and whose you are,
yeah,
you don't really, it's just different. It's a different
yeah.
level of understanding
Oh,
for
yeah, it
sure.
is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't have to, even at the funeral, like I wouldn't fall, and I just, you just feel a certain level of
Yeah,
preparedness, and okay, this is what it is,
yeah,
and you have to work on accepting God's will more than
yeah.
anything,
Oh,
and so
most definitely.
yeah, yeah. So with that being said, BJ, of the grief you've experienced, did your relationship with God change? Whether it was your grandmother or your sister or your friends, did it change your relationship when it came to God at all, or
It,
has it been the same?
it, I would say it changed a little bit in a sense of me grabbing on more closer to God,
Mm-hmm.
because as
Mm-hmm.
you see people that you're losing, you're like, Lord,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, um, it helped me to kind of just, like I said, appreciate life even more, and the
Yeah.
grabs on to God even more, and to understand, hey, you got to walk into your purpose. You
Yeah.
got to walk into what God's been calling you to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what God's really been pushing on me these last couple of years. I did my first video ever. It was just yesterday around this time last year where I started
Wow.
doing those videos, you
Yeah.
know, um, and that was a change, for
Mm-hmm.
me, because I wasn't a person that got on like to get on videos either.
Yeah.
I like being around people. I like
Right.
to kind of be that, I wouldn't say center of attention, but I would like to kind of host people, have people
Mm-hmm.
around, me make sure that they're good and everything like that. But um, it does. It have changed me a lot. I can see
Yeah.
myself back then from where I am then now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, God is taking you in a journey,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're knowing what your purpose is
Mm-hmm.
now. You're like, wow, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember when you started doing, because it was like right after y'all's wedding, give or
yeah.
take. Yeah, and I think I told Clay, I said, "BJ, he on live now." He said, "What talking about?" I said, "He encouraging people."
I know,
I
right?
said, "You need to follow him." But yeah, yeah, and you've just blossomed, like just like you said. I didn't think about it. It has been a year,
Yeah,
just being a blessing to others more than
yeah,
anything. So BJ, okay, we know we have the phrase. You hear a lot of older people say, "Just keep on living."
yeah.
What has life taught you at this
Mm,
point?
wow, that's a question. I'm gonna keep saying life has taught me a whole lot. Like if I could go, it's how people say sometimes, if you could go back and tell yourself something, I would tell myself, just be you.
Uh,
Be you.
mhm.
No matter what. You got this. You can do it.
Yeah.
And that's what life has really taught me. Because I looked at my past and how, I was a shy person. I was a quiet person. I cared a lot of what people thought of me, how they took me, and
Yeah.
it kind of helped me back from a lot of things, I believe, but as I started to understand who I was and whose I was in God,
Hmm.
He started to show me who I was and started to just, now just that I don't care.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm like, either you like me
And
or
that's
you
right.
don't.
That's
I'm still going to do and be who I am
yeah.
because this is what God called me to do. This is who He made me to be. And that's one thing about, Quentin, I really enjoyed.
Oh
He
yeah.
was who he was. He didn't care.
No,
Like
he
me and
did
him be
not.
hanging out, and I'm like, Quentin, I said, don't be doing all that. They can be looking at you. He's like, Phil. I'm like, it's like, I'm like, well, get away from me because they're gonna
Yeah.
be looking at me all
Right.
crazy too.
Right.
And he just
Right.
like he did not care, and
No,
he
he
would
did
not
not.
change because someone said something about him.
Nope. Nope.
And that's what I think that's what made me enjoy that friendship for him
Yeah.
because I was just like, you just being yourself, and I'm trying not to be myself because people are gonna be looking at me, they're gonna be trying to, but I wish I could go back there and tell that person, Benny,
Yeah.
be who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
just be who you are. Don't
Okay.
care, you know
Yeah.
what people say.
Mhm.
This is your life. This is who God made you to
Yeah.
be. And as He's doing more and more in you, He's showing you who you are in Him. So, other things that may be imperfect in your life, He's going to
Mhm.
push them out and align them
Yeah.
to His will.
Mhm.
So, that's what life has taught me, to be who God called you to be
Yeah.
and do it with your whole entire heart. Put 100% in, no matter what. And that's what God has taught me, putting my all in it. Whether I get, like I told people, I said, I don't care if I get 10 views, if I get 100 views, if I don't
That's
get no
right.
views at all, I'm going to do what God called me to do because I know this is my purpose.
That's
So
right.
I don't care if I don't have people, with me or not with me,
Mhm.
as long as I'm
Mhm.
doing what God called me to do. I know I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that you just hit home with me, BJ. Everything you just said, because I've always been just, I mean, from a child, just I think maybe adolescent years, just I've always been kind of quiet, of course. And I've really, you want to maintain a certain level of self, I guess.
Yeah.
And like you said, Quinn was not, and I think that's why opposites definitely attract, because
Yeah.
Quinn was never like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I met him in high school, he was
Yeah.
who he was,
Yeah.
and he didn't care, whether it was who he was, and
Yeah.
so, this is definitely much like being called out of your element, being like, okay, I'm just gonna let go of feeling scared to do this,
Yeah.
or I'm one, I do not like attention at all.
Yeah.
I'm very much like reserved, but
Yeah.
I know even what I'm doing with this is calling me to a certain level of attention.
Yeah.
I can sing, but I've always been scared to do that because
Yeah.
I don't want attention. And
Yeah.
Quentin was like attention. He wasn't even
Yeah.
attention seeking. That's just who he was.
Yeah.
He walked in the room. It's like,
Yeah.
everybody.
I know. I'm like, all right, brother.
he hollering in the back. You know
Yep.
who it is. But that was just him.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes, like you said, you have to shed those layers of insecurity and things off
Yeah, for sure.
so you can be who God has called you to be. I've
Yes.
always known it was something God, I have a purpose,
Yeah.
but this is definitely just like shot me into a whole nother level of God and who I'm supposed to be. And so I relate to everything you just said.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
And like you said, even, Quinn being the one who, it's just like, wow, I wish I had all that energy. I wish
Yeah.
I could do all that. Like, why you can't do it, Stank? You can do
I know,
it.
right?
In his own way, pushing you to be great, to
Exactly.
be greater.
Yeah.
He was always definitely doing that. I didn't always listen, but he was definitely always doing it. So I agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, BJ. Last question of the ministry corner. So how did you start the process of just moving forward when it came to your big mom, when it came to Olivia, even when it came to Quinn and your other friend? How do you say, okay, I have to accept what is taking place,
Yeah.
and this is what I'm going to do to move forward? Were there any steps you took, any books you read, any rituals, anything like that?
The only thing I would say that, I mean, like it's as you say, it's still a process, but
Yeah, yeah,
you come to the fact. I think once I see it,
mm-hmm,
I think that's when I accept it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I
yeah,
see them there.
mm-hmm,
I think that's when it comes to me to be like, okay, this is the last time I'm gonna see them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that it then just pays like a just calmness and peace, and just like they're sleeping
yeah,
and
yeah,
they're at peace with
mm-hmm,
God,
yeah,
and they don't have to take no more trouble or struggles of this
mm-mm,
world or think about life in general, because they live their life. So I think that's what gets me through that kind of acceptance that they're, gone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So okay, as we discuss moving forward, our last little segment here. What's some daily practices that you do just to keep yourself grounded, BJ?
Wow. So it's so funny because I got up this morning. So I get up every morning about 4:30, and
Wow.
I spend time with God.
Okay.
I pray, I read my word, and I put on spiritual music to kind of help me get in that presence and that mindset to kind of just focus on God, not asking Him for anything, but just focusing on Him. That's what really helps me. So I found myself today. I was in a, I was laying on the couch because I was getting up because I was tired, but I was trying to get up to pray, and I was in a dream, and I was praying in the Holy Ghost, and I woke up and I still was praying, still in the Holy Ghost.
Wow.
So I know for a fact that that has an effect when you spend that time and quality time with God.
Mm-hmm.
Even while you're sleeping, you're still your body. When it's your time to pray. So
Yeah.
my body
Yeah.
wakes me up even before my alarm goes off, and I go right in there and start praying. And I think that's what help is that firm foundation of building up on spending that quality time with God. Like I told someone, I said, you can't even go a second or a day or a minute without speaking to God.
Yeah.
Like I was, and I post something that said, how can people not talk to God on a day-to-day basis? But I know that things happen in life
Yeah.
to cause us from wanting to spend that time because we don't want to, we're either a little angry with them, or we're kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like talking with you right now because I'm just mad because I don't know, you just really made me angry right now, so I don't even want to have nothing to deal with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But me spending more and more time with God, I enjoy getting up like in the morning. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
privilege for me to get up in the morning. It's a privilege for me
Right.
to get up early in the morning, like, oh God, I can spend time with you, just talk with you
Yeah.
before my day even starts. And that kind of shifts my whole entire perspective of my day. It changes my I may have things come up, and things may come and stir me, kind of try to stir me a little bit,
Hmm.
but God is guiding me. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's something my mom does every morning. She has a prayer closet at the house, and so she does the same thing. She wakes up early, and she does somewhat of that same ritual, and she
yeah,
tells me about how it just changes the trajectory of her whole day.
yeah,
Her church, they actually do a prayer call, so her and my dad get on it first,
yeah,
and then after that she'll go and do what she's gonna do. And so you're the second person I think that has mentioned that that's kind
yeah,
of how they part of their routine. So
yeah.
thank you for sharing
Oh
that. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
important.
yeah. Like I tell people, it's a sacrifice to
Yeah,
take time out your day. Not saying that. I mean, well, one, we don't even we're on God's time.
that's
And
right.
that's how I put on people. I say, you on God's time.
That's right.
None of this time is even yours to begin with, but He's
That's
allowing
right.
you to use the time
Yeah.
how you want it. But to even just spend, like I tell people, I have a lot of people on TikTok that email me and say, hey, and how can I get closer with God, or how can I, talk to God even more? Where do I start? And I said, just start 5 minutes. I said, just talk to Him. Say, God,
Yeah.
I love you, or God, what's going on? And just read a scripture.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
do it every day, and your time will start to increase more and more and more as you start to develop that relationship and that strong connection with Him. It'll start to become like an hour, and you think an hour is like 10 minutes, you
Right.
know, because you're spending that time. So
Yeah.
it's not you. God didn't say you have to do a whole 30-minute prayer, a whole hour
Mhm.
prayer.
Right.
He
Right.
didn't say you
Right.
had to do that. He said, just spend time with me. If
Yeah.
that's 2 minutes, okay. You
Mhm.
know, got to start
Mhm.
small.
Yeah, I like that, BJ, because I think sometimes people can be, it can be a little intimidating,
Yeah,
and just to know that, oh, I can just spend, like you say, that 5 minutes on my
yeah,
way to work, or, like I say, when I first wake up, that gives people something they can do that's, like measurable, that,
yeah,
okay, it doesn't have to be an hour long.
yeah,
Like you can do a 5 minute prayer that can be just as powerful as one that's 30 minutes to an hour.
yeah,
And so I think that's important for people to hear
yeah,
for sure. Um, so I think we've talked a lot about, you've given some advice on coping with grief, and then we've also talked a lot about purpose.
yeah.
Do you have anything extra you want to add about coping or about purpose?
Mm-mm. Just what I said. Just allow God to work through you. Let Him use
Yeah.
you. Let Him transform your mind. Let Him change who you are. Don't allow people to change you, but
Hmm.
allow God to change you. And I
Yeah.
think that's very important. We always trying to change people or change how they should be.
Yeah.
And that's what God is really helping me to understand, is to accept people where they're at,
Right.
because He's accept us where we're at. He meet us right where we're at, and
Yeah.
as we get closer to Him, then He starts to change us.
Yeah.
He starts to change our minds, change our hearts, and we get more and more closer to Him. So I always
Hmm.
tell people that, I never try to judge anyone. I try to not to try to accept all.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
God really was talking to me about. It's like there's going to be people coming to you that may not look like you.
That's
They
right.
may not have the same values as you. They may not even do what you do,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to learn to accept them, because they're tired of things the same way. They're tired of
Hmm.
going through what they're going through. They're tired of trying to depend on people that give them false hope. They're
Hmm.
tired of people giving them false, you can make it, you know, tell me how I can make it. Show me, you know,
Right.
meet me right here. Don't
Hmm.
try to change me right away. Don't try to change my look. Don't try to change my mind. Don't try to change the way I operate. But
Yeah.
we have to bring those people in, accept them for who they are, and then allow Christ to change them. because he did it for me. He changed me totally
Mhm.
around, changed my whole mindset and how I view things, how I am as a purpose, my thought process. He changed all that just
Mhm.
because he met me where I was at.
Yeah. That's one thing I admired about Quinn and also Janae too, Quinn's sister. They would be like, we are who we are, and hey, we ain't always been who we are today, who
Yeah.
God has created us to be.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, to this day, Janae goes and does street ministry.
Yeah.
Quinn would be, I don't care where we was at, he wasn't scared to talk about God. We be in Memphis and in the hood. And he walking out the store, he dapping somebody up, and I'm like, you don't know these people, I'm nervous,
I
but
know, right?
I'm, but that's something I admire about them when you talk about meeting people where they are, BJ, and not being non-judgmental.
Yeah.
That was definitely part of both of their stories.
Yeah.
Quinn used to tell me, Tiffany, I ain't no different from these people. And I'm like, I get it, Quinn, but you got to be careful. But he had that heart for people, like you mentioned earlier. And
Yeah.
so it makes a difference when you can meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And then also, BJ, I was thinking too about, with everything that has occurred with my situation, I'm just so hypersensitive to everything. Like
Yeah.
when we left Thanksgiving night, I had one group of family members that went back to Murfreesboro, and I'm like, told my cousin, I'm like, y'all, please be careful. They got kids. I'm just nervous. Like, it's deers out here, and and I'm thinking
Yeah.
about, I'm just always in a state of nervousness when it
Yeah.
comes to my family members and
Yeah.
different people. Even the
Yeah.
lives, some of the lives some of them are choosing. So
Yeah.
I just have to stay prayed up and be like, God, help me rid some of these things.
Yeah.
Just because this one situation happened doesn't mean I have to live in a state of anxiety and a state of just
Yeah.
being scared all the
Oh
time.
yeah.
And so that's a big thing as well. I just try to stay prayed up. So
Yeah. Allow God
yeah.
to do that out of you. Yeah. Because yeah. And that's
Mhm.
something the enemy does that too. You try to
Oh
bring
yeah.
things anxiety on you and making you try to be fearful and more,
Yeah.
because then he knows that God is taking you somewhere.
That's right.
He's moving you. So he's gonna try every little thing to kind of get in there at you. So it's
Hmm.
still a journey to go through, but
Oh yeah.
God's gonna get us through.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, one popular phrase we're gonna wrap up, BJ, is
Okay.
I hear all the time is "life be lifing."
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the popular phrase. And of course, the circumstances of life, especially what we are currently dealing with. It can be unbearable.
Yeah.
I wrote down just some things. I know a lot of people, including myself, because I'm looping me into this category too. We're hurt, we're broken, depressed, angry,
Yeah.
confused. Just sometimes feeling a sense of hopelessness, honestly. And I know one thing, and we're gonna tag all of your socials toward the end of this discussion, but you just completed your 30 days of thankfulness
Yes.
for the Thanksgiving for the month of November. What I want to do, I did look at a lot of those video clips, and I want to go through a couple of the words because every day you did a specific word and gave a little encouragement for that word.
Yes.
And I was been thinking about, all the people I know that's grieving, whether it's current grief, past grief, when it comes to these holidays. I want to see if you can combat some of the feelings I just mentioned, the anger,
Yeah.
the depression, and all that, with some of the words that you have kind of talked about on your channel.
Yeah.
So the first word I'm going to say is comfort. How can we be comforted during this time of all these feelings?
Well, knowing that God is near. Big firm believer in that. God is always near no matter what. That whatever circumstance we go through, He's there.
Hmm.
He's always there and always have been there since the beginning. And that's comforting to know that someone is there during your times of grief, even depression, anxiety. God is always there for you. And there anytime that you need him. So I think that's good about comfort is that it's almost like a sense of like almost like somebody just taking you and just like hugging you
Mm-hmm.
and you can feel that presence of that, and that's what I find, in comfort. It's just, God holding me and being there for me, even if I can feel his presence,
Mm-hmm.
and I may still kind of feel like, oh, but then it kind of just comforts it a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. What about hope? That was one of your words.
Yes, hope.
Right?
We as I say before, we build in our hope on
Mm-hmm.
things eternal.
That's right. That's right.
We can't build our hope on this earth. Things are
Mm-hmm.
going to fade away.
Yes. Yes,
This
they
whole
are.
earth's going to fade away. Our lives are, going to, you know, come at an end, but we're going to have this eternal life. So build your hope into the eternal, on things of the spiritual eternal.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. I was just when you I was thinking of another word when you was talking, BJ. It's done slipped my mind now. Maybe it'll come back to me. Hope. I can't think of what it was. It'll come back to me. What about peace? Like peace, is it peace, just peace or peace of mind?
Yeah.
What do
So
we
yes. So peace. I always think of the scripture. He'll keep you in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him.
Oh yeah.
So I think that having that peace of mind, not of like, even while you're going through your storm, I always go to scripture when Jesus was in that ship and everything was going on in the storm, and he
Mm-hmm.
just peacefully just sleeping,
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
peace, wasn't even worried about whatever's going around them, and they're all
Mm-hmm.
scared, and they have Jesus in the boat with them.
With them.
Yes,
With
and
them.
he sleep, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I was like, what?
Right.
But you think about that in that moment when you go through those moments. At times you're not thinking of, not saying that you're not thinking of God, but you're like, oh my gosh, Lord, and you
Yeah.
you have that mindset, but you have to know that God to give you that peace of mind, even when you should have probably went crazy or lost your mind. He
Yeah.
gave you that peace of mind, and
Yeah.
that's what he did for you during this time. Gave you that peace of mind, even though you want to scream, yell, you just had it seemed like you just had like a peace over you, and it
Yeah.
was just like just a still peace
Mm-hmm.
that someone could come and say something to you, and you just like
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that God gives us that peace of mind.
Oh yeah. He definitely does, BJ. For sure. For
Yeah,
sure. What about strength?
strength. Wow, wow. He'll give you the strength to endure. You know,
Mm,
as we go through this journey,
yes.
He's gonna even just be pushing us through, being that strength for us when we feel weak. He's gonna be that strength for us because we're relying on Him. Now I know God is always giving us that, that strength. When
Yeah.
you feel like, man, I can't go no more.
Yeah.
I just want to just give up.
Mm-hmm.
But God would be that strength for you as you go through that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And last but not least, BJ, a word that I, you know, don't even really know who to be angry with just yet, but the word is forgiveness.
Wow.
That is gonna be, through what I'm currently dealing with, that is gonna be, somebody take your life.
Yeah.
That is gonna be very difficult. And so I'm really interested to know your take on forgiveness in the mix of times when,
Wow.
things like this happen that we don't understand, and just
Yeah.
and knowing at some point
Yeah. You have to face
we're
it.
gonna know who, and we're gonna,
Yeah.
and so forgiveness is gonna definitely come up at some point. Even now, honestly.
Yeah. Wow. Forgiveness is, it can be hard.
Hmm.
It can definitely be hard at times,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, but it's, how they always say it's forgiveness is not for them, it's for you.
That's right. Yeah, they do say that.
Because forgiveness, if you're not forgiving someone, you're I feel like you're holding on to that pain, that hurt, that resentment. Sometimes can turn into bitterness. All those things, and those are things that God don't want us to. He want us. We gotta feel them,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're not truly giving everything to God. You know, that's why God
Right.
said He wants your entire heart. He wants
Mm-hmm.
you fully. He don't want partial of you. He wants everything that you have. Lay Him at His feet. And I think
Yeah.
forgiveness is very hard, and it is for you, because once you forgive that person in spite of what they did, I think of
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. He went
Mm-hmm.
through what He went through.
Right.
He said you're going to be, ridiculed. You're going to be talked about. You're going to be People are going to try to, destroy you. They're going to try to mess with you. They took, I think about Job. He lost everything.
Yeah.
Everything within a
Everything.
matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
He could have, even his own friends came up and tried to stir him away,
Right. Right.
and I think of that, and I think of God forgiving us for our sins, things
Yeah.
that we did to him. We hurt
Yeah.
him so much. We did things. He told us not to do things, and we sitting there just doing them. It's like, okay, whatever. They ain't bother
Right.
him. But then he
Yeah.
comes back and be like, I've been waiting on you.
Yeah.
I forgive you for everything that you done,
Yeah.
and just wipes him out. What kind of person
Mm-hmm.
does that?
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
forgive even when you know that they
Right.
done you wrong. What kind of person does that?
Wow.
It's only God that does that, and He
Mm-hmm.
will give you that. He'll change your heart and your mind, and I believe He's even changing it even as we speak. That He's
Mm-hmm.
as He's molding and shaping you.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's gonna help you to be able to face the issue that you have to face. You
Yeah.
know, because at the end of the day, we have to face things that we don't want to face.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we even have to look people in the face that, you know, either did us wrong or said
Mm-hmm.
things to us wrong or did us bad. And we have to God put us right in that face. And that's when you will see God work through you. And you'll
Yeah.
look back and be like, I know that wasn't me,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't forgive this person right now. And it all comes out with honesty,
Yeah.
being honest with God. God, I don't want to forgive them.
Right.
I don't. I don't want to forgive them at all. I can care less about them.
Yeah.
But God knows the intent of your heart. And he respects you that you're honest with him. And
Mm-hmm.
as you doing that, he's just healing that heart and healing that pain and doing that and working it through you. And before you know it, then you will see that you're healed and you're able to forgive.
Yeah. That was good, BJ. That was really good. And you're right. God gave us, and like you said, forgiveness is really for you. And I don't ever want to, none of us probably ever want, us to be hindered in any way because we're holding unforgiveness in our
Yeah.
hearts. Because I definitely understand the, importance of that.
Yeah.
Definitely something Quinn we would talk about often.
Yeah.
Forgiveness and
Oh
just,
yeah. He is a very forgiving person,
oh yes,
and
he
I
is.
enjoyed that about him too. He can, just forgive a person like nothing even
Yeah,
ever even happened.
yeah,
And that's when you truly have that heart
yeah,
of God. When God is molding that heart of yours,
yeah.
and He placed people in your life that has to show you how to do those things like it's
Right,
nothing. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Oh yeah, I know
Like
what you're
you're
saying.
like, how you
Yeah,
did you
times I
see
ain't
what
want
they
to.
did? Did you see
Right,
what they just said to you?
right. I would be more mad at stuff people would do and say to Quinn than he would. Honestly,
Oh, and people
I'm a
do that too.
bulldog. I'm ready to go,
I
but he
know.
like I ain't worried about the people. I don't, you know.
That's what I tell people all the
He,
time. But yeah,
yeah,
that's what my wife always do. She be like, "Did you see what they?" She said they tried to get. I said, "Baby, don't worry about them. I said
Right.
they can't do nothing to me. I said
Right.
I said I'm just ignoring them like nothing.
That's right. And that's a certain level of maturity,
Yeah.
BJ. It really is.
Oh yeah.
Because people, when you do something to somebody, most people won't get back.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother level of understanding maturity, that I'm gonna have to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because yeah, it does, it takes that, and like you said, I want to always make sure I'm in alignment with God,
Yeah.
for sure. So, well, I appreciate you going over those words with us.
Yeah.
That whole, I encourage everybody to go check out BJ's page and to really, review all. It was 30
30
days,
days, yeah,
so
30 days, yeah.
that's just five of the words we just talked about right now. But definitely check that out, because it's very encouraging, and I know I'm gonna be having a few of them on repeat during my new morning routine for sure. So BJ, as we wrap up, uh I know Quinn was into music. I know you are into music.
Yes.
What is a song that would be your life story and why?
You know what? I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my
It's a
Lord.
hard question.
It is a hard question.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
um, it's just grateful. Um,
mm-hmm.
there's a song that I don't know who sings it, but I listen to it all the time. And it just like brings my heart just joy. It's basically just saying I'm grateful for all the things that you've done for me.
Mm-hmm.
You've been faithful, so faithful to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because God has. We
Yeah,
think about this. God has
yeah,
truly been good to us. So
yeah.
we have to have a grateful heart towards Him, not just during this season of Thanksgiving
Mm-hmm.
or the Christmas time, but God has been so good. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, God is still gonna be good.
Right.
God was
That's
good from
right.
the beginning, and He
Yeah.
was good to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And even God even tells us in His Word that He's turning, He's doing things for our good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm grateful and thankful to God because He's just been so good to us. I mean, it's just a living testimony of all of our lives of how He brought us through or how He's carrying us through, and it just makes me just appreciate life more and more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. I was so many variations of it of grateful. The song, and that's a good one. Because like
Yeah.
you said, no matter what happens, and Quinn was like, I don't care what happened, God's still good to you.
Hmm.
You know, always seeing that brighter side, and really
Yeah.
knowing who God was. BJ, I feel like we done did a whole lot of soul work today.
Yeah.
A whole lot of soul surgery.
I know, right? Yeah. Look.
Repair,
I know,
repair,
right? Oh
soul
yeah.
repair,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's important. That's the word I was looking for earlier when we was talking, because it's important. I think a lot of times we think of physical things and earthly things,
Yeah.
but we don't think on those eternal, and it's really your soul is
Yeah.
what's gonna matter at the end of the day.
It is. Yeah.
That's what lives on. It's not
Yeah.
this physical stuff.
Yeah. No,
It's
not at
our
all.
souls.
Yeah.
And so I say this has been a soul stirring conversation for sure. And I just appreciate you. I do.
Yeah. No, thank
Very
you.
encouraging. And I knew you could bring that to this audience. And, like I say, we're all a work in progress. And
Yeah.
I just appreciate you so much.
Oh yeah.
Tell the people where they can follow you at.
They can follow me on Facebook. They can follow me on TikTok. They can follow me on YouTube. And I believe that's on my Instagram. So eventually I have a page solely for the ministry that I'm doing. So God is doing some things,
Mm-hmm.
prepare me for in the future. And those things will be kind of later down the road, but he's doing some things. So just know to expect some things to come out soon that God is going to be doing and using me for his glory. And that's all I want to do is just make sure people, I want to give people something to it, give people hope.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of this ministry, is to bring people in that people typically wouldn't reach out to,
Mm-hmm.
um, because of the lifestyle they live or how they are, but allowing God to change those people,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah.
me, but God.
Right. Right. That's
So
the key.
this is what the ministry I do is getting those hurt people, those people that feel like hope is lost, feeling like they just on their last leg. They feel
Mm-hmm.
like I can't do it. I'm trying, but I can't. Because I think people are really trying, but
Mm-hmm.
the devil's really pulling them
Oh
and
yeah.
really got a hold on them.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
believe in my heart that God is going to restore those people, because people are out there looking for true hope. They're
Mm-hmm.
looking for something that they can hold on to, not something that they can just, you know, something that can fix them real quick and then they go back to doing what they're doing.
Right.
They want something solid that can last with them forever. So
Yeah.
that's the purpose that God has given me, is to just open heart,
Yeah.
have that open heart towards
Mm-hmm.
people and just giving and pouring into them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Do you have a name for your ministry, BJ, or you just
no, it's not. It's God has given me a name, but
okay?
making sure.
Okay.
So right now it's right now just like BL Ministries. So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
the thing right now, but it will be transformed to something else, as God is leading and guiding me to His purpose. Making sure that I'm hearing Him and making sure that things are lined up. But God is doing good things, and I can He's doing even greater things, um, for us all. And I'm
Yeah.
excited, for what God is doing, and I'm excited what how He's using each and every one of us, even you. I'm excited. So um, there's going to be things coming out very soon next year
Mm-hmm.
that God's going to be just going out there at you guys. So just be looking out, on the page as God starts to use us even more.
All righty. Well, BJ, I just appreciate your time today. I appreciate it is very intentional, very purposeful.
Oh yeah,
And I am so grateful for that. And I think this message is gonna go out to so many people and just encourage them. And so I thank you. I
thank
thank
you
you.
so
I
much.
thank
Appreciate
you.
you. Appreciate you.
And one thing I do, BJ, I have a lot of people who just support, and they send me like just different donate different things like gift cards and stuff like that. So you will
Yeah.
be receiving a gift card
Well,
just for being on. I just appreciate
you
it.
didn't have
I
to do
do.
that at all.
I
You've
don't
been such a
know.
blessing,
Oh,
just to
nah.
watch you here and blossom. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see that you're walking into your calling.
yeah,
So that's even inspiration for all of us to see that go.
yeah.
You're going to be a blessing to many, 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 many more people to come. So, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep,
I appreciate that.
keep prayed up, stayed up in God. And as you say, as Quentin always say, all is gonna be well.
That's right. And we gonna end it right there. You said it before I could. all is all is well. Yes, yes, yes. Well, all right, guys. Until next time. Thank you, BJ. And I
Thank
hope
you.
everybody has a wonderful, wonderful December. And we will this is our December episode. We're gonna take a break toward the end of December, recalibrate, and so we'll have new episodes coming out in top of January.
All right.
Thank y'all so much. Have a
Thank you.
good rest of the day.
See y'all.
Bye. We hope that today's episode has encouraged you and helped to identify strategies to navigate your grief and begin the process of moving forward in life. Grief Tribe Healing Vibes. What were some key takeaways from today's episode? Drop a comment below and remember to like, follow, and subscribe.